You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello, and welcome to the sixth and final round of Week 6's Eternal Tournament Series. Here, I am Truedawn, joined by Sir Rhino.
Hello.
And we will be having Xenofire on Shimmering Combre against Walladil on Stone Scar Callus. What do you like about these decks, Rhino?
Well, I like that they're both 4-1 after 5 rounds. That seems like a good place to be. It means the winner of this match is definitely making it into the top 8, and the loser probably will as well, depending on how the tiebreakers go. But it's not a guaranteed. So win and definitely in is on the line here. As far as the deck lists themselves, well, there's a lot to like. We've got Shimmering Combre, which has been a stalwart of the tournament scene for quite some time now. It's just the base of Combre with a little bit of Shimmer Pack and Scouting Party and some other things on top. This one notably also running Crystallize. So just, again, kind of these Time Justice Primal mid-range piles, and however you want to make the synergy work, you can make it work. This one's choosing to go the Shimmer Pack Obelisk route. On the other end, we've got Stone Scar Callus, which has also actually been in the tournament scene for quite some time. I believe like the very first ETS got, Callus was a presence and did well in open beta. So the addition of Quarry certainly makes that deck a lot more interesting. It just smooths out its draws, lets us find pieces. Plus, Quarry has some pretty neat minor synergies with Torrent of Spiders and Smuggler's Stash because the other card does get put in the. So a really, really fun deck.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a more traditional build of Stone Scar Callus. We've been seeing a lot of more cute builds with like blue cards and even bait. And it's cool to see one of the just original builds of the deck come back, be doing well in this tournament. I'm personally a fan of things like Brimstone Altar. We do see two of them in the sideboard. I like that card a lot in decks like this. It really is just having a 0-minute sack outlet makes your madnesses so much better. So it's cool to see one of the more traditional builds of the deck not doing too many cute things. It still is going to be a little bit weaker in the long game. That is traditionally Callus's weakness. Is it can go like it can fight in like the mid-range area, but when the game starts speaking about like Mystic Ascendance and Great Parliament, it starts having a problem with that. But we'll see if he's able to overcome that as we move into game 1.
Yeah, so we do not have a hand cam available, I believe, for Walladil's Stone Scar list, so we'll just be watching it from Xenofire's perspective. But we do have some more to touch on with that Callus deck that I'd like to talk about then. But for now, we've got a Grenadin Drone opening Xenofire with, all right, finds that third power, but Initiative Sands is going to be showing up a little late to the party, but better late than never in this case.
Yeah, it's the Callus deck is interesting because it's not like super aggressive, but if they do get out an early like 8/8 Callus, that can usually lead to a free win. So Xenofire is not under a huge amount of pressure, but they need to start doing something, or else all these little 1/1s could turn into a large unbeatable weapon.
And the other nice thing about Callus is it blanks certain cards that are out there, like this Vanquish, and that Varus Favor on a initiate is going to be quite a big swing. Means Xenofire needs to draw. Yeah, it doesn't draw undepleted power, so can't play this Acolyte. And the saddest thing in the universe here is having to use a Permafrost here. I don't actually like using it on the unit that he already wants to sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
The Dark Wisp. Because the Dark Wisp dies, when it dies, you draw a card. I would have used it on, it's a very minor thing, but use it on one of the other 1/1s, just so if they had something like Devour, they weren't even extra encouraged to eat that Dark Wisp. But yeah, Xenofire is under a lot of pressure here because there's that Callus getting a boatload of value and pressure down.
6/6 is about the smallest you're willing to make in that deck. And we saw that previous turn, the big draw to as far as favor is disgusting, but we saw the biggest draw to Callus is that it deads all your opponent's removal. Like their Vanquishes and their Permafrost are just horrible cards against this deck.
The absolute most amazing thing out of all of this is that Walladil is playing to Varus Favor's main deck. Those were both of them.
Only two.
Just to really add like insult to the tilt factor there. Those were the only two Varus Favors, and they were. Oh, I love that card so much.
It's
You know,
it's an absurd favor. The fact that it can deal with things that are actually cards is nuts.
yeah, and all right, Zenofire's dead.
Yep.
Volodil was on the play, had the great opening of 1/1s into 1/1s into Khalees, into develop my resources while disrupting yours. That was just an absolute massacre. So now we're going to go to sideboarding. If you're Shimmering Combre, I imagine you're taking out Vanquishes, of which you only had 2 of to begin with, and just bringing in, I don't know, you got a Reality Warden. The 7/7s are kind of cool. Lightning Storms, Crystallize, Scouting Party. Like,
Yeah, what I would imagine Zetafire wants to do here is take out a lot of his removal that's very bad against the 1/1s like Permafrost and Vanquish, and side in more proactive things like the Reality Wardens, Scouting Parties, possibly even Crystallize, stuff like that.
I don't think you bring in a third Crystallize. Like, you kind of want to try and remove their board before that. So I'm definitely bringing those Lightning Storms before the Crystallize. But maybe you
Decay is also a reasonable thing to deal with the large Callus to actually have an out to Willadil's more aggressive draws.
Yeah, plus your opponent could be bringing those Brimstone Altars as well. I'm not sure. That kind of reach can be nice against Combre if they do end up stalling the board. Like, it can be a little hard for you to push through a Stone Scar Callus. So maybe the Brimstone Altar angle is a nice thing to take from the Callus players.
Yeah, I've liked Brimstone Altar a lot, but especially in builds that incorporate Umbran Reaper. So like all this chip damage matters. Like you actually have a decent amount of reach with things that deal large amounts of damage. In this build, it's less potent. It's mainly just for the 0 mana sack outlet. It's the chip damage matters, but not as much as it could.
Yeah, if you're the Callus player, like, what are you even looking to take out here? Obviously, like, the Combust Madness package is amazing against mid-range. Maybe the Oblivion Spikes aren't quite doing what you want against a deck running this many units. Maybe that's something you could maybe cut for either Flame Blast or Altar. Like, I'm looking to try and get a little bit more reach in my deck.
Yeah, like this is the problem with Stone Scar Callus is they have very, very few slots that aren't devoted to the functionality of the deck. So their sideboarding is incredibly limited. So you really just want to bring in incredibly potent things in a matchup where you don't really have something that's exceptional. You probably just don't sideboard.
All right, so we are in game 2 now. Walladil's up a game. Again, gets the play, gets to open on Grenin and Drone. Zenofire luckily draws that Seed of Progress off the top, which is not only a third power, but also a justice source. So that's a pretty big deal here.
Yeah, he'll hopefully be able to get the Sandstorm Titans in play at some point. And this is I don't hate this aggressive trade of the Desert Marshal. What else is it doing in this matchup? Not a lot.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Again, you just have so many kind of just bad cards in this matchup. You just have to keep some of them in and make the most of them while you can. And that's what Desert Marshal did there. It's silenced the Grenin and Drone and traded with another 1/1. Okay. Yep. Sure. That's about as good as it might get.
And Zetafire did draw the power, so they get to cast Seraph this turn and cast this Sandstorm next turn, but Seraph will eat a Combust. Combust is probably better than an 8/8 Callus, although he did have the decay for it.
Yeah, and no follow-up there from Walladil means either sitting on a lot of other situational spells or just has a lot of power in hand. So we'll have to see from the perspective of Zenofire what it is. Imagine he just drew that Dark Wisp, right? Didn't play it last turn, used to Combust last turn. So I think Zenofire can gather that, okay, my opponent just top decked a Dark Wisp and who knows what else is in his. Odd that he didn't swing with Sandstorm Titan.
Yeah, it's pretty free attack. And this is one of the downsides of the Callus deck is it has a lot of moving parts. Well, these 1/1s don't do a lot. If you don't have sack outlets, your sack outlets don't do a lot in certain spots. So we do see this deck floundering a bit. The Torrent is reasonable. It checks these two Sandstorm Titans, but there is a Desert Marshal inside of Xenofire that he could use to make one of the Death Hunters just a 1/1. He does.
So now he is swinging with the Titan and offering the cycle for one and the kill for the other. But yeah. Oh, and now he changes his mind again. I guess it's at the point where it's like, all right, if my opponent finds a Khalees and it's a 10/10, my Sandstorm Titans deal with that, right? And here we see why wow, he's actually going to use the decay on this Oblivion Spike anyways. I was just saying how Oblivion Spike's not that good in this matchup. Like, it doesn't kill any of the things you actually wanted to kill with these Sandstorm Titans, but opt to use the decay anyway. Who knows when he's going to get another target.
And this is what I talked about a bit earlier, is the Callus deck is not equipped to fight a long game. They really want to fight between like turns 3 and 6. Anything past that becomes like really challenging for them. Their deck doesn't go that big.
Right.
their synergies aren't that powerful. So you find yourself in spots like this frequently where you don't have a lot going on.
Yep. So they get to draw a couple cards. A little surprised that they actually waited to do the Devour block trick there. I feel like maybe you should have actually been digging on your own turn, but yeah, I guess that extra block could have been more important than the 2 to 3 cards you were going to draw. But I'm a little skeptical of that, especially because now you get the Madness combo, and that's the best.
If he has Madness Combust here, or Devour is also good, but even if Wildale draws a Torrent of Spiders soon, Torrent of Spiders is incredibly powerful. I think it's for like 4 spiders now.
Yeah, it's at least that at this point. Like 5 to 6 units just got added already. I haven't checked the count, but yeah, I think you're right around 4. Say.
Yeah, so that's one of his best cards this matchup. That is one of the cards that kind of breaks the rule where he actually can play in the late game and have it be good. But that Lightning Storm kind of cuts that off to some degree. So we will see the Shimmer Pack make these 2 small creatures 4/4s and start to jam.
Yeah, Shimmer Pack making this Lightning Storm a bit more one-sided is a big deal. It's gonna be hard for Walladeal to really. Yeah, this deck just doesn't top deck that well. We know it doesn't have any sigils in hand at least, but yeah, Walladeal's under a lot of pressure now. It's really hard for this deck to kind of recover from this kind of board state unless it's sided in something along the lines of
although that's
not playing
that Storm there does leave him open to a Torrent of Spiders. So if Walladeal finds a Torrent of Spiders this turn, he does stabilize to some degree.
Yeah, well, he found a gargoyle and is dead.
So close.
Yep. So we're tied up here 1-1. We'll see if the players go back and do some more tinkering with their sideboards. I was a little surprised to still see like something along the lines of Torch from Walladeal still in this matchup.
Yeah, that is one of the few cards that is not part of his core strategy. Like, it doesn't affect the functionality of his deck, and is also just bad in this matchup. So yeah, I'm surprised to see that in as well.
I'm skeptical that Torch would be better than either Flame Blast or Plague, for instance. Like I think both of those would actually more in general than
I'd probably err on the side.
Yeah, basically, if you want Torch for removal, Plague's better for that, and if you want Torch for reach, Flame Blast is right. So.
Yeah, I'd probably err on the side of Flame Blast, but both are completely defensible. Maybe you can like ruin Plague combo, so your Plagues actually deal with parties, but that's a lot of slots.
Yeah, plus Plague could be exactly because of Xenon Obelisk. Like Plague isn't quite as reliable. Be a little sketched out by that.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward, but we will move into the decisive game 3. This is our final round of Swiss. Winner of this does go into top 8.
Right. Yeah, they're trying to get that guaranteed top 8. Again, the loser will probably get in, but it's certainly not a guarantee. And Xenofire, again, gets to develop with this nice early initiate. Has a Crystallize, which can be useful. Temple Scribe is one of the better cards in this matchup, believe it or not. But again, these Desert Marshals might not. Sweet.
Yeah, if Walladeal could get his synergies together, and we do see he pitched a Torrent of Spiders on the quarry, so the other card must have been great.
Yeah, that's certainly telling. And Walladeal has a much slower start than we saw in the last couple games, where they had that turn 1 Grenadin, which really allows the Kalas deck to have some explosive starts. If I was Xenofire, I would have considered just throwing a Desert Marshal out there, keeping up the pressure.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else that card does this matchup. Like, sometimes it'll silence a Dark Whisper or Slumbering Stone, but you have another one. You actually have 2 now. You have 3 total.
So. All right, so here comes the Madness Combust. Probably going to hit the Initiate. You saw your opponent miss power for a turn. And they opted to take Combust over Torrent. I imagine that's, I guess, because they already had the Madness in hand and they just wanted
that leads me to believe that they might have multiple Madnesses.
Yeah,
or really they already have value for them.
Yeah, or they have more Torrents in hand too, and they're just like
also possible.
Who knows? So there's the Reality
Warden.
There's the man of the hour.
But again, like, Xenofire is stuck on power. He has these Desert Marshals that are like whatever. They don't really do a lot. He could eat the Callus here, but the Desert Marshal still dies.
I think you use the Marshal here just to guarantee the Spike dies, because if they follow up and make like 3 1/1s here, you're in trouble. All right, well, they don't.
And I definitely would have fired off 2 Desert Marshals there. The one is a little too conservative for my taste. Although Walladeal's not doing anything, which is really bad for Walladeal.
And now you also drew Lightning Storm, so like playing the Marshals isn't quite as appealing. Right?
And yeah, here we see the second Madness that's going to either a Devour or Combust.
Yeah.
Devour is
gonna say,
definitely
if
the
it's-
better one for Wildell.
Right. If it was Combust, I would have said that would have been a little too aggressive here. Like, you're not under that much power yet. But the Devour makes a lot of sense. So that's 2 Madnesses down. That's pretty nice for Zenithire to at least know that. It's annoying that your units are getting killed, but you don't have to worry about those swings as much.
Yeah, we will see the silence actually get some use here, and see the game lagging a bit. Unfortunately, there it goes. Okay, cool.
And chooses not to trade a 2/1 for a 1/1. Sure, you have a Crystallize in hand. Why not?
Yeah, and it's all about this Reality Warden here. Big old Reality Warden.
Yeah.
Although, if Wildell's not on just straight air, the cards they would not have cast at this point are like things like Madness and Combust.
Yeah, so let's see. Like the Reality Warden, yeah, it's be a nice play here, but I think he's just a little worried. He's only seen 1 Combust so far. I guess he's trying to hold out hope still that this Warden can dodge 1 more removal spell that this
Yep, but we do see the Madness there.
And there it is, Madness number 3. Yep. Into a Khalees.
That's not awful. He gets a 2/2 from his Slumbering Stone.
Oh.
Nope, unfortunate.
That's not good.
I assume the Callus killed the 2/1. We'll try and get that fixed as soon as possible. But in the intervening turns, I think that Wildell is actually starting to come back. He still has to boot the Rally Warden, and then here we are back now.
Yep. Yeah, looks like we've got a. Yep, Desert Marshal silences, trades. Callus is only a 4/2. An assembly line comes down. So doesn't have the power to Storm plus Warden here, so he's got to kind of make a decision on: do you want a Warden to try and proactively hit stash if they have a stash? Do you just want to keep these tokens off the board?
I kind of want to Lightning Storm to turn off Combust first. It's like,
Sure.
Yeah, the stash is bad, but I think you're okay with that. Because he's not stashing anything particularly powerful. He just has the 6/6 Callus, right?
I think if I'm doing that, I'm using Crystallize instead of Lightning Storm.
That's also true. Oh, and then we do see the smuggler stash for the max punish.
Yeah, there's a stash. Well, he may have gotten that off of it, but I think Crystallize is basically just a more expensive Lightning Storm in this matchup, right? So why if you're only casting 1 spell that turn, I suppose you can hold up Desert Marshal here, but I don't know how much of an upside that is. And oh my god, the stash is getting back a Seraph and Sandstorm Titans. I think they actually opted for 2.
Yeah.
I find that a little interesting when you're on 7 power. I think I prefer a split there.
Oh, that decay is very good. That's going to deal with like the large Callus, so he's insulated from that.
Yeah, it's going to help with that, but it's not going to help with everything else that's coming to you. And yeah, we see that Seraph was still in the yard.
So we'll see all the little guys come out to play again. We have a 10/10 Callus, which would be great here if it was not for this decay.
Yeah, but again, they draw more cards. They could just find another stash for the Callus. But it's still nice to deal with that while you have a 7/7 Reality Warden. They might run out of answers to it at some point.
There's the Var's favor.
Really needs that 8th power, I guess.
Yeah, and Zenithire really needs like this Reality Warden to do some work. He's pretty far behind. Like Wildell's at 23 with 4 cards in hand. Like Zenithire needs to kill him. I guess these synergies are starting to come together, like with this high of a card density.
That being said, 2 of those cards in hand are Sandstorm Titan, which Reality Warden just goes into a stalemate with. So at least you have that going for you. Like I said, I'm a little surprised they didn't take Sandstorm Titan Seraph split when they were already at 7 power. But we'll see what else Walladil has in hand. There's a Combust.
Combust is pretty good.
That's a Combust. And an 11/5 Oblivion.
That is also pretty good. So now with Wildell or Zenithire rather, is like just dead in 2 turns.
Yeah, and Walladil still has 2 Sandstorm Titans to play out here.
Yep. So this is the kind of game where Callus can actually fight a long game. This is where they're actually like when they get to stash multiple times, get back the opponent's large creatures.
Yeah.
This is the kind of situation where they're in when they actually get to do stuff.
They had triple Madness draw against a mid-range deck. That's great when you can get in chip damage and then also put those great units into your own yard. And Fourth Madness shows up. That's dead. You're very dead. Yeah, just kind of got buried by card draw and tempo plays. And we saw that when the Kalas deck is flooding, it's just drawing pieces that don't work well together. It doesn't do anything. But when it's drawing pieces that do work together, it's kind of operating on another axis that a fair deck that like Conbreak play against.
Yeah, when everything comes together, Kalas is doing some of the more powerful stuff in the game, but it's often hard to get all of that to come together. But when it does, it's great. So we actually have a backup match for you guys. We have Juaspas and Xenon Control versus Rewind on Feldscar Midrange. And we will, as you see, we just moved into the game. You see this board state. We have pretty much stalled board. We have a bunch of blockers, a bunch of stuff that doesn't want to attack. Although we do see in Juaspas's hand a last word, which could probably take over this game if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
And Juaspas is up 1-0. This is game 2.
Yeah, this is a nice spot for Juaspas. He is under a little bit of pressure. He's behind on board. It's going to be hard to guard this last word. I imagine these Felon Bloodcasts haven't activated yet because Rewind's stuck on 6 power and is under an Azindel's Gift lock, which is ideal.
Yep, that's certainly unfortunate. I actually lost the stream, so I can't see what's going on. But I assume that if the game is going to be about that last word, whether or not Juaspas can leverage that, whether or not he can protect it to get a bunch of value to close the game out with. And now we are back. We do see that he's drawn a Death Strike that he's going to tag this Bloodcaster with. And now the last word is actually poised to come down a really reasonably clean board next turn if Juaspas draws the power for it.
Right, yeah, he's in a very nice spot here. Rewind, Rewind can't get out of this unless he top decks, I suppose, a Torch, right?
Well, yeah, this is like the hard lock for.
Actually, Black Sky Harbinger is absolutely insane.
Yeah, Harbinger's the nut.
Harbinger deals with the entire board and the last word, so Rewind doesn't draw that and loses. And
Juaspas wins that 2-0. So sorry for these short backup matches, but we can't really control how fast these things happen.
I'm going to count that as a last word kill, even though he didn't get to connect with the last word. People like to concede before you get hit by it. And I think that's true. Let the people get their hit in with the last. It's a fun animation.
So that is actually going to do it for round 6. We will have our top 8 set. We will come back to you shortly and run down our top 8 and have the quarterfinal matches. So that should be happening just a few minutes, so stick around. But until then, I'm Truedawn for Rhino, and we will see you soon.